D-Mace, Vingan, and Donick 1025. The game? Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, and David Janes here with you. We hope you are having a wonderful Thursday, a beautiful day in our fair city. Quickly, I do want to get something off my chest, Derek Mason. I don't want it to hang over the show. I want to get out all of the bad feelings. But I've just got to quickly rant about something.
Okay.
Don't be that neighbor who leaves their garbage can on the curb 3 days after garbage pickup. Do not be that neighbor. You are literally a garbage person if you leave your garbage can on the curb 3 days after trash pickup. And this neighbor left their garbage can in front of my mailbox. That's the worst part, because the mailman's not going to go around the garbage can.
No.
So I made a little statement today. I put the garbage can back where it sort of belongs. But don't be that guy. Don't be that neighbor who leaves your garbage can on the curb 3 days after trash pickup. I'll allow like a 12 hours grace, because, people leave it out there before they go to work and then they come home. So it's there all day until they come home from work, and that's fine. But Tuesday went by, garbage can was still out there. Wednesday went by, garbage can was still out there. Thursday, this morning, garbage can still out there. So I had to take matters into my own hands. So don't be that neighbor. Thank you.
Okay. What if they put because my neighbor does this from time to time. What if they put their trash out the day before the trash comes out, but they're leaving town for a few days?
See, one texter did say on our text line.
I've had people do that. I had my neighbor do that.
Driven by WilsonCountyHunter.com. What if they put it out before vacation? Then talk to one of your neighbors and say, hey, would you mind just putting my garbage can back in my driveway while I'm gone?
Okay, I get that. What if they're not friendly with the neighbor?
Well, get friendly. That's what I say.
No. I get it. My neighbors are great. They put their trash in, and the only time when they leave it out excessively is when they're gone out of town. Usually they drag it back in before the day's up. But people have long work schedules. I get it. But I'm sure that can be annoying, especially when someone else puts their trash can near your mailbox. Because like you said, you're right. If the trash can is too close to the mailbox, the mail person is going by.
Right.
I've had workers, and this is my pet peeve, especially when because they're doing a lot of building. Workers, contractors, please do not park at least 4 feet from somebody's mailbox. Seriously. Park at least 3 to 4 feet from somebody's mailbox, because if you don't, the mail carrier is not getting out of their car, nor do I expect them to get out of their vehicle unless they have a package to bring to my door. But they are not required to get outside their vehicle. You're not supposed to obstruct the mailbox. And too many contractors around this damn place obstruct mailboxes. I'm going to petition my person in my area. I'm going to bring up something. There's a 3-foot bumper around mailboxes on the right side of the mailbox and the left side of the mailbox, because people tend to park right there. And then the mail person, I don't blame them. They just roll by because I can't get in. So contractors, builders, if y'all listening, I know you are, don't give a 3-foot, 4-foot bumper between the mailbox and your car, especially around the time the mail person runs. Because if you're in the neighborhood for a while working, when that mail person comes. You know when it comes. You just don't care.
Do you feel better now?
I feel better. Next time, you know what I'm going to start doing? I'm going to start putting tacks and nails near my mailbox. So go ahead and get close to it if you want to. You're going to have a flat tire when you leave. I'm going to tell you that right now, because I'm tired of not getting my mail. Okay. I'm glad you brought that up. I've been wanting to bring this up for a long time, but I had
Okay.
other stuff.
We didn't talk about this before the show. I
Yeah.
came in, I just wanted to get it off my
Mhm.
chest so that I'm in a great mood for all of you. Andrew on our text
Now,
line says, be
yeah.
better to your neighbors and you'll have better neighbors. I'm a great neighbor. I am. I'm a great neighbor. I take care of the house. I keep the driveway clean. I put my cans away. Now, I do have the benefit of being home usually
Yeah.
when the garbage and recycling trucks come by. So
Mhm.
as soon as I see them, I put my cans away. So I do have that advantage. Again, I'll allow a 12-hour grace period.
Okay.
You put it out there before you go to work or the night before, and then you roll it back when you get home from work. That's fine. 3 days, completely unacceptable. You are literally a garbage person if you do not do that. Okay, I feel better.
There you go. Good job.
Mitch
Good
Light
job.
of The Athletic will join us at 3:40 to talk college football. A huge weekend in college football. A lot of incredibly critical matchups. We will talk about those with Mitch Light at 3:40. Elliot Freeman of Sportsnet will join us at 5 o'clock, as he does every Thursday. We'll talk the Predators, who are still in Sweden, with Willie Donick. A lot to get into with Elliot Freeman. What is he hearing about what the Predators could do if this season continues to spiral out of control? By the way, one texter about your tax and nails idea
Yeah.
called it domestic terrorism.
Well, I listen. Maybe I may not do that, but I do have to take my trash out. And there you never know. Some things may fall out. I don't know. I'm walking down the street. Sometimes I have stuff in my pocket.
We
it
don't
falls out.
know what.
I don't know. Workers, they work near my house and they drop. I don't know.
Look, there are telltale signs,
Mm.
and then we'll move on. There are
Yeah.
telltale signs of what kind of person you are. If I let you in traffic
Mhm.
and you don't wave, garbage person.
Yes, yes.
That's all I need to know.
Mhm.
I feel like I'm doing a Seinfeld bit here, but if you don't give the courtesy wave, just a little acknowledgement, a little hand raise, just know that I'm there. Know that you know that I let you in. If you don't even give the little hand raise, you're a garbage person.
Or if you don't say thank you when somebody opens the door. I've done that plenty of times here, where I've opened the door
And someone just
and they
waltzes
just
right in.
walk through, and I just want to slap them in the back of their damn head. Didn't your mama teach you any damn manners?
Praise.
They
be,
just
man.
walk
Oh,
right
man.
by you and just look at you like I'm supposed to, like I'm supposed to open the door for you. Like that is my job, to be the doorman at a Starbucks or any other place. I don't work there. Okay, they don't employ me. My W-2s don't have their name on it. Okay, so when I open the door for you, damn it, say thank you. Next time, I'm just gonna say, excuse me. Then you see me open it, I'm gonna get rude. Excuse me, I'm gonna get rude. And I hate being rude so close to holidays, man. I hate being rude, period. But especially during the holidays. But that's when people do it the most.
I think during training camp, Diana Rossini of The Athletic did an interview with Mike Vrabel.
Mhm.
And he said, I can't recall all of the details, but he said that one thing that just drives him nuts is when people leave their grocery carts
Mhm.
at the grocery store in the parking lot. They
Mhm.
don't return the grocery carts
Yeah.
to the little area. And Vrabel was like I police this stuff. Like I say that. I'm like, first of all, I can completely see Mike Vrabel policing people putting their garbage. I mean, not their garbage cans. I would love for him to police my neighborhood with people who leave their garbage cans 3 days past 3 days past pickup. One texter says, "Violent start to the show." We are not violent people.
No, it's not.
We had to
violent.
let things go. We had to
See, we get it out so we don't
Yes.
be violent. People, we get it out. And
Yes.
we've gotten it out.
That's exactly right. Okay, one more. John from Nashville says, "It drives me crazy when I'm walking my dog in the morning and I walk past another person and say good morning and they say nothing."
Oh, yes. Oh man. There's this neighbor in person in the neighborhood that I've driven by like several times and just wave. And his ass hasn't waved back. Sometimes I just want to stop my car and say, "You saw me waving at you, damn it." Yeah, probably not.
One more.
But I'm gonna keep going. I just kept going. I just mind my own business. I don't even wave no more. I don't even wave. Just keep going.
One more. in front of my mailbox all the time, or I guess somebody parked in front of his mailbox all the time, and he left his window open a crack. And I went to the store and got one of those fart sprays, and I filled up his car with about 8 pumps and just watched them get in about 4 hours later and almost throw up. Felt pretty good afterwards. Okay.
That's the message tears away.
Okay.
Oh man.
All right. Well, if you have other things that piss you off, we'll get
Yes,
to them.
this is the day.
615-737-1025. All right. So I heard Robbie and Joe talk
Mhm.
about this morning. I saw Paul Kaharski tweet something about this yesterday.
Yes.
But one of my random go-to websites, when it's not
I was
tankathon.com,
about to say Tankathon.
I love tankathon.com. What's the email? Together at cromwellmedia.com,
Yes.
tankathon.com. If you are looking for a sponsor, if you're looking to sponsor something, may I suggest the show,
Mhm.
along with Bax Homeworks.
Yes.
Bax Homeworks and tankathon.com. That's a winning combination. Anyway, 506sports.com. It's the website that has a color-coded map of the United States, and it tells you where each NFL game is being broadcast, basically.
Mhm.
So Kaharski pointed this out. Robbie and Joe talked about this morning. For the game on Sunday between the Texans and the Titans, by the way, get ready for some Davis Mills at starting quarterback because CJ Stroud has been ruled out for the game. So Davis Mills, who I believe his career starting record is 6-19-1. He will be starting for the Houston Texans against the Titans on Sunday. So this little color-coded map for the Fox single game, only Middle Tennessee in our state is getting the game between
Wow.
the Texans and the Titans. Memphis and Knoxville will be getting Chicago at Minnesota. The easternmost tip of Tennessee, right under the westernmost tip of Virginia, will be getting Houston versus Tennessee. And then the Houston area and that part of Texas will also be getting the game. But I can't imagine how often. By the way, Chattanooga also not getting
Wow.
Titans and Texans. Chattanooga is getting Panthers and Falcons. So I can't imagine this has happened very often, where the other major cities in our state, Knoxville, Memphis, Chattanooga, they're not getting the Titans game. And it appears, Derek, that
Mhm.
the state of Tennessee, not just Nashville, it appears the state of Tennessee is losing interest in the Tennessee Titans.
Wow. It's unfortunate, but I think some of it has to do, or does it, with the whole ESPN thing and YouTube TV, their battle. Maybe that is affecting, where you can view the game throughout the state. But I would tend to believe that if the Titans were doing a lot better, then why would you show the game across the state of Tennessee? Because even though they're located in Nashville, the fan base, reaches east, west, north, and south. And I'm talking about a broader, not just here in Nashville or Middle Tennessee area. So you got to believe that if this team was much better, that the ability for the state as a whole to see the game without having, say, cable or something or one of these streamers, it would be easier. But I wonder if even if you get that antenna and you can watch ABC, it's still
that won't affect this because this game is on Fox.
Yeah, so it's on Fox. So,
right. So by the way, just for reference, going back to
well, that's even worse if it's on Fox. So everybody should be able to see it.
Right. But going back to 2 weeks ago when
Mhm.
the Titans last played against the Chargers, the entire state of Tennessee received that game. Knoxville had it. Memphis had it. It appears Chattanooga had it. Even Huntsville had it. So 2 weeks later, Memphis isn't getting the game. Knoxville isn't getting the game. Chattanooga isn't getting the game. Huntsville isn't getting the game.
Okay, now 2 weeks ago, were those games on ABC?
That was a CBS early game.
CBS.
Well, the only games on ABC are Monday Night Football.
Well, CBS. Oh, let's
Yes.
say CBS.
So CBS had the game between the Chargers and the Titans.
Okay, which meant, and that was 2 weeks ago.
That
which
was
meant
2 weeks ago.
it probably spread it across a broader demographic, so to speak, within the state. So
Maybe,
But then how did they go back and look at the numbers and say, well, now that it's on a different station, maybe we not cover it as much?
I don't know. I look, I can go back and study all of these maps. I don't think I have the time to do that
No,
right
no,
now.
no, no, no,
But
no.
I'm just looking at 2 weeks ago when the Titans last played
Mhm.
at home against the Chargers. The game was on CBS, and according to 506sports.com, the entire state of Tennessee had that game. Memphis had it, Knoxville had it, Chattanooga had it. As I said, even Huntsville had it.
Mhm.
But this week on Fox, only Nashville is getting the game. Memphis isn't getting it. Knoxville isn't getting it. Chattanooga isn't getting it. So it just appears that, look, like this is a good question. David, you're our Memphis correspondent. Do people in Memphis have an attachment to the Tennessee Titans?
I think so. I think there's more though Cowboy fans in Memphis,
Mhm.
just because like again, the Cowboys were such a huge phenomenon for like majority of the whole country. But I mean, I knew a lot of people who were Titans fans whenever I was living in Memphis. Like a lot of my friends were Titans fans growing up.
Okay. And Knoxville, any of our Knoxville listeners, 615-737-1025. I'm not sure if the Titans have the same grip
Poor.
on the state as, for example, the Green Bay Packers
Mhm.
in the state of Wisconsin, right? So this does seem quite odd to me, but it goes to show you just how much interest there isn't in the Tennessee Titans right now, that the other major cities in our state aren't getting the Titans game on Sunday.
I mean, it's unfortunate. But if if your team's not doing well, then it's almost like it's a blackout in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
And stations have been known to do this throughout, so this is not something that's just common with the Tennessee Titans. I can remember living in Detroit and the games being blacked out a lot because they were so bad. So yeah, your record does indicate how much and where you are shown um, across the U.S. And in particular, when you are an eastern half of the United States type of team, you got a lot of teams that are jockeying for position and to be shown. And a lot of these teams are really good teams, or the brand is there. And the Tennessee Titans, if you're not doing well and it's consistently that way, then your piece of the pie is going to shrink more and more and more. And that's what's happening because this team is 1-8, and the Houston Texans, they're okay.
4-5.
Yeah, they're average. Who wants to see a bad team and average team play? Like, no, seriously, I want to see it because I got it covered. I love the Titans, but who else wants to see that? They would rather see another team, Chicago and Minnesota. Both of those teams are battling within the NFC. What is the NFC
North.
So, yeah.
And basically the entire middle part of the country is getting Chicago and
Exactly.
Minnesota.
So they
Sunday.
know that, that's, you play the hits, right?
Yes.
So right now, that's considered a hit. Minnesota and Chicago, because the implications of that game.
615-737-1025. Your thoughts on, apparently, Nashville is the only place in Tennessee, or Middle Tennessee. Middle Tennessee is the only place where you will be able to watch the Tennessee Titans on Fox this weekend. They're not being shown in Memphis. They're not being shown in Knoxville. They're not even being shown in Chattanooga. 615-737-1025. We'll also attempt to answer this question. Outside of Cam Ward, which Titans player has the most to prove in the second half of the season? We'll get to that next. 615-737-1025. This Sunday, the NFL game of the week is the Chiefs versus the Broncos at 3:25 on 1025 The Game. The NFL game of the week is presented by Circus Sportsbook Kentucky and Massaro in 12 South.
Derek Mason here. And if you've injured yourself in a motorcycle accident, go to lawtigers.com for your free case evaluation. Even if your accident was months ago, you have nothing to lose by calling Law Tigers. Insurance companies want to pay out as little as possible, or frankly, nothing at all. Law Tigers make sure you get the compensation you deserve and doesn't get paid until your case has been settled. Look, they understand how much your bike gear is worth to you. So they will help you get it all repaired, or better yet, replaced. Law Tigers is the resource the motorcycle community turns to when in need. So whether it's to support you at an event, or if they see you broken down on the side of the road, with Law Tigers, you'll never ride alone. So call 1-800-LAW-TIGERS or visit lawtigers.com. Law Tigers is powered by Freeman and Houston, and you can find them in Nashville, located at 2126 21st Ave South. That's Law Tigers, Tennessee's motorcycle lawyers.
What is good enough? Well, they're in that's a tough position these days with the talent on the edge. They have got a great challenge this week with the pass rushers they've got in Houston, and so there's going to be give and take. And I think anytime you evaluate it, they're going to get beat. that's going to happen. Every player is going to get beat at some point in time, but I think you always got to look at them and say, are you using all the little techniques? Are you doing everything, all the little things right to give yourself a chance to succeed? And I think that's one thing that you always look at when you get in here on Monday mornings and watch the game film, or how they practice during the week. And that's why you're always, like an earlier question, you're always pushing these guys to be the best they possibly can be, because it's a great challenge every week. And they're going to get beat at some time on the edge. There are some phenomenal pass rushers, and it's not easy. And the thing back in the days, you used to say, okay, each team has one. So, you put chip help over there, you can slide certain things. But now you play a team like we're playing this week, and they got help on both edges. You got to help both edges at times. So it's it's part of our job too, to make sure we help these guys. And that a good running game helps that also.
That was Mike McCoy talking about J.C. Latham and Dan Moore as the Titans prepare to take on the Texans this Sunday, a game that barely anybody in Tennessee is going to be able to watch. Because as we were discussing earlier, it was pointed out by Paul Kaharski of paulkaharski.com on 506 Sports, which has a color-coded map of which games are going to be available in every region of the country. Texans at Titans within our state is only available in Middle Tennessee. Memphis isn't getting the game. Knoxville isn't getting the game. Chattanooga isn't getting the game. 2 weeks ago, when the Titans hosted the Chargers, the entire state of Tennessee got that game. So we're just talking about the shrinking footprint of the Tennessee Titans within our state. We'll take your reaction, 615-737-1025. Let's go to Chad on our phone line. Chad, thank you for calling. Please go ahead.
Hey, good stuff as always, brother. I have to take us back to free agency. I guess would have been the last few weeks of February into March. I called this exact show, and D. Mace, my hero, my guy, I said this was a no-brainer for me, and I said the Titans, it's easy. They need to sign Sam Darnold, which is going to be relatively cheap. And my boy D, and I said this. I said, he checks a ton of boxes. And, bro, you turned on me. You said he checks a ton of boxes, and then you spent 45 minutes turning it into a bit about the boxes he checked that were negatives. Like, he checks that box, the interceptions or the turnovers. And I don't know why. What happens sometimes in sports, we hear a name, identify. We think Sam Darnold. We think bust. We hear names like, now we do it with Will Levis, right? Completely toast for the rest of his career. Same thing with Baker Mayfield. If I'd have called you 2 years ago and said Baker Mayfield deserves a chance, maybe we should sign him, y'all would have turned that bit into a 30-minute laugh at Chad.
No, not Baker. If you follow this show,
not spin it. Let's not do a political spin here.
No.
But
if you've listened to this show, I've been a Baker Mayfield fan from day one.
Right,
now, Sam Darnold,
we're talking about
Sam Darnold. We
Sam
can
Darnold.
discuss that. We can discuss that one because I got a rebuttal to that. But go ahead.
Well, it was the rebuttal. There shouldn't be a rebuttal because we spent 45 minutes running me down because I suggested Sam Darnold should be the choice. And I thought it was easy. And here's the other thing. Sam Darnold came to Nashville in December or late November, and he wore us out. He looked amazing. He's a big 6'4" prototype quarterback, and look at his numbers last year. This shouldn't be a surprise to people. And why we can't miss simple things kind of blows me away. And really, at the end of the day, at least have an open mind to say, maybe we should look at Sam Darnold. Not, oh, yeah, he checks some boxes, all right. Oh, he'll check some boxes. He'll be throwing it to the other team's boxes. Sam Darnold's having arguably, he's on the outside of the MVP looking in. And the Titans made that move and used that first pick and traded it for draft capital. All of a sudden, we're watching the game in Chattanooga. Your thoughts?
Thank you for the call, Chad.
Okay.
The check from Stilly is in the mail, Chad.
Exactly. Okay, here's the thing. We can go over Sam Darnold back and forth. And we can play hindsight is 2020. But my opinion, I'm not talking about what you said or other guys that other analysts. There are other teams that frankly thought like I thought. And one of them was the Minnesota Vikings. As good as he played last year, they still were ready to move on. And it wasn't like Sam Darnold was just everybody that needed a quarterback was jumping in on Sam Darnold, because they were not. Listen, Sam Darnold is a good story, and he's having a good season. He has talent around him, a really good coach. My reason for not getting Sam Darnold is I wanted my own quarterback. I wanted the Titans to draft a franchise quarterback. I've seen Sam Darnold. I've seen it. Sam Darnold isn't going to get to. I didn't feel Sam Darnold was going to get you to the Super Bowl where you wanted to go. He had the best offense in the NFL damn near last year.
By the way,
He had the best receiver in the game. And what did he do? When the time came for him to stand up tall, he shrunk. And that's happened too many times in his career. I'm not saying that the young man is not going to be a good quarterback. He's always going to be a solid quarterback from here on, I believe. But in this situation, I just felt the Titans needed to start their franchise because I didn't know had he left Minnesota and come here, it was going to work out. The Titans have no talent around them. They really don't. Or if they do, the talent is young. That's why the quarterback now, Cam Ward, is struggling because not only is he a rookie, but he's relying on other rookies as well. And the guys that he wanted to rely on, the guys that they went out and got, either hadn't performed, they traded away, or injured. One of the three. So that would have been Sam Darnold here. I would rather draft my own quarterback, not have to pay him this enormous contract and build around him. There's nothing wrong with that. But again, what I seen from Sam Darnold at that moment, yes, a good quarterback. Yes, a guy you put him in the right system, he's going to flourish. But when he had his chance to stand up tall, and not just me, other GMs around the league, they all pointed at that and said, listen, he's all right, but we're not spending what it's going to cost to get him as our quarterback. Now, Seattle did, and kudos to them. It's working for them. But you can't look at that and say, well, it'll work here in Nashville too. Because look at the team now. It's not working for anybody. And again, you can bring Sam Darnold here. You could bring Aaron Rodgers here. You could bring any quarterback. They don't have the talent. And if they do, it's young. So I would rather my young quarterback grow with his young talent. That's my thing. Listen, if you want to, Sam Darnold's doing wonderful. I'm sure. I'm not following him as far as his stats, but I'm sure they have a winning record, so they're doing pretty good.
he certainly, to the caller's point,
Uh-huh.
he certainly is in the MVP conversation.
Exactly. And he was in the MVP conversation last year, wasn't he? But there were a bunch of teams that said, nope, we ain't going to be fooled. He need to do it a couple more times. We ain't going to be fooled. And me saying, I want them to draft a quarterback. I don't want them to bring in Sam Darnold. He gives you 2-3 years, and then now you got to go get another quarterback. I don't know how long that's sustainable. It may be. But I would rather go out and draft my own quarterback. Now, if you're saying they drafted the wrong quarterback, then, okay, let's have that conversation. But had Cam Ward come out and been a little bit better, your argument is mute. Because this is what franchise wanted, to draft a young quarterback and develop that young quarterback and build around that young quarterback, all while they don't have to pay him a lot of money. That's what the Titans are trying to do, and hopefully Borgazzi can do that. So this ain't no political flip-flop. Bro, I stick to what I say. That's one thing about me. I'm going to stick to what I say. I ain't going to try to backtrack. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But if I'm right, damn it, I'm going to say it very loud, okay? So we can play armchair quarterback, or we can say, what if? And you're right. He's having a wonderful season. But me, in my opinion, I think they did the right thing by going out and drafting their quarterback and trying to, put talent around him while he's developing.
By the way, next Sunday, Sam Darnold and the Seahawks visit Nissan Stadium. So we'll be watching closely what Sam Darnold does.
And he may end up having another good game, but that's not going to change my opinion on what I thought last year. It's not.
We've got a lot of reaction to that, which we will get to. Per our previous conversation, Brian says, hearing the Titans' footprint is shrinking even more makes me think back to the beginning of the season when everyone was mad at that guy who makes the primetime game schedule. Shout out Mike North.
Yes.
And saying the Titans can't draft their way into primetime. That guy looks pretty good right now. It looks like he knows what he's talking about.
Well, it takes, years, but we all know if this was the New York Giants, and they had the first pick, or if it was the Dallas Cowboys and had the first pick in the NFL draft, their games would have been predetermined. They would have been on television. Okay, so you can draft your way to more spots on television. The Titans didn't have any. Am I right about that? They
Zero
don't have-
prime time games.
Zero prime time.
Yeah.
And it makes it even worse when you look at the southern part of the country, and just 3 states here: Alabama, Mississippi, and Louisiana. You know what games they showing basically in those regions? Green Bay and the Giants. Which, who cares about Green Bay and Alabama? Green Bay and the Giants, in Chicago and Minnesota. But majority of that region right there, they're playing Green Bay and the Giants. Oh, the Giants that just fired their head coach, the Giants that quarterback, is he playing this week? Or is he out of the protocol?
Jackson Dart?
Yeah.
No, Jameis Winston is starting
Jameis
for the
Winston.
Giants
So,
this weekend.
Jameis.
again, that's an attestament.
Also, it should be noted that the Saints are off this week, hence why those
Yeah,
regions may
okay,
be
there we
getting
go.
those games because the Saints
Yeah,
aren't
because
playing.
they would show a Saints game in Louisiana. You would hope they would, right?
They would. No, they definitely will. 615-737-1025. We'll take your reaction on the fact that the Titans' footprint is shrinking within the state of Tennessee. We'll take your thoughts on Sam Darnold, too. He'll be here next week. We'll get to that next week. But coming up next, Mitch Light of The Athletic will join us. We'll preview the weekend ahead in college football. We'll bring up the brand bias conversation we had yesterday with Mitch Light. Curious for his thoughts on that. 615-737-1025. If you are looking for a great spot to pregame before the Titans-Texans game this Sunday, may I suggest stopping by John Bon Jovi's. JBJ's has the best food on Broadway, cold beer and cocktails, and stunning skyline views, including 2 epic rooftops. Catch the pregame show next Sunday, brought to you by Tennessee Brew Works and Old National Bank. Chase and Big Joe will be broadcasting live at the all-new Circus Sportsbook Kentucky in the Mint Gaming Hall this Monday prior to the Monday Night Football game, which is Cowboys versus Raiders. So head on up to Kentucky, catch Chase and Big Joe, and catch Monday Night Football because who the hell knows? You may still not have ESPN on YouTube TV by Monday. But let's go to our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, and welcome in our friend Mitch Light of The Athletic to preview the weekend ahead in college football. And Mitch, yesterday we spent a considerable amount of time discussing the potential brand bias with Notre Dame being 9th in the CFP rankings, Vanderbilt being 14th in the rankings, despite maybe having similar resumes. Where do you stand on this hot button issue?
That's a good question. And unlike our friend Derek, I'm not a conspiracy theorist.
Dang it! Come on.
And I think we all have biases. We all have been watching college football for a long time, so it's difficult for a lot of people to sit there and say, wait, could Vanderbilt with 2 losses be better than Notre Dame with 2 losses? I don't know how much of that is a factor. I would like to think that people in the committee room, especially, former coaches who kind of just can look at a resume and kind of use the phrase appreciate ball, wouldn't do that. I can look at Notre Dame's resume and say, yeah, I can see why Notre Dame should be 2 or 3 spots ahead. And I can look at Vanderbilt and say the same thing. Like, rational people can disagree. I think in the end, sure, it matters some. It's difficult. Like I'll be quick with this. When I was at Athlon Sports for years, when I first started there in the early 2000s, we made college football predictions. Every year we would have Florida State in the top 5 because Florida State had that amazing run. And then after being wrong for 2 or 3 years, we were like, you know what? Florida State's not good anymore. We have to move past our biases in what we think is going to happen, that they're going to turn it around just because they have talent. So to answer your question, I think it's a part of everyone's mindset, but in the end, I don't think it'll be the real differentiator.
A lot of fabulous matchups in college football this weekend. The one I'm looking forward to most, number 10 Texas at number 5 Georgia. And I know a lot of Vanderbilt fans will be watching that game because the Commodores need the Longhorns to keep losing. So what do you make of this matchup? What's your early read on Texas at Georgia?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting the way you phrase that. And I agree with you, Adam, but it's like part of the strength of Vanderbilt's resume is, only 2 losses at Texas and at Georgia. So wouldn't you want Texas to keep winning?
True.
But then obviously you want them to fall behind Vanderbilt. I think it's a fascinating game from a Texas standpoint, because if you're a Texas fan, you say, okay, we had that off week. We got back. We lit up Vanderbilt, who's good. And Arch looked great. And then you look at what Auburn did to Vanderbilt and you say, oh, maybe our offense didn't get right. Maybe that was a Vanderbilt thing. So because Georgia's been susceptible. We saw what Tennessee did to them in the passing game. So that to me is going to be the biggest part of this game. Can Texas move the ball against a good but not great Georgia defense? Georgia has been living right this year. Give them all the credit for making plays, but they've been flirting with disaster. Really, last week against Mississippi State was probably the only real complete game, and I know they didn't play great for 4 quarters. But I'll cop out. I'll go with the easy answer and say Georgia at home. But I think what Texas does offensively is the story of this game and will be the story going forward for Texas.
Mitch Light of The Athletic is joining us talking about college football. Mitch, my beloved ACC is a hot mess right now.
It is.
In college football. I have no idea how this thing is going to shake out. If you had to put on your, let's call it your prognosticating glasses, your fortune-telling glasses, I don't know, some sort of glasses, how do you see the ACC shaking out?
Yeah, I don't have all of the schedule in front of me. I've looked, I think this is Miami to me is still the best team, but the best team needs to win games, and they have some troubling losses, and they've it's been a similar story for them. I still think Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech has slipped up really only once. They were horrible defensively against NC State there. If they can stay healthy and if Haynes King stays healthy, I think they're the best team. But again, you got 5 teams with 1 loss. The nightmare scenario, which you guys have probably talked about, is that your Duke Blue Devils figuring out how to win this league and then have a resume with 4 losses, including a loss to UConn, that would be the worst scenario for the league. But it's fun to watch from the outside, Adam. But if you're a fan of the league, it's probably not fun.
There's absolutely nothing wrong with Duke winning a conference championship, regardless of what happens. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, tell that to Jim Phillips, the commissioner.
Now, Mitch, listen, a lot of this we've been talking about this week has had sort of this Vandy sort of attachment, because I think, Notre Dame and Texas, I think what they do moving forward does affect Vanderbilt. But
Sure.
there's another team that, as I start to think about it more and more, why don't they have the same argument? Say if they beat Vanderbilt, and I'm talking about UT.
Yeah.
There are 3 losses, close to Oklahoma, close to Georgia. We know how that one was. And now the Alabama game, it was what it was. And I do hold that against them. But if Texas can make the argument about their close losses and say they end up 9-3, why can't UT make that same argument? Is it because of the Alabama loss and how it looked?
It's the lack of good wins.
Okay.
Texas, what Texas has going forward is a 3-loss.
Even if they
Texas.
beat Vanderbilt.
Yeah, well, a 3-loss Texas would include a win over Georgia, at Georgia, or Texas A&M, which would be a tremendous win. The problem with Tennessee is their wins. Like, the cumulative record of the teams that Tennessee has won is not very good. They beat Mississippi State, they beat Arkansas, they beat Kentucky. It's just, they are a good team. We can watch college football and say, yes, they are a good team, but they've done nothing to prove they are a great team. If Gunnar Stockton doesn't hit London Humphreys on that 4th down play in the corner of the end zone, and in that game in Knoxville, we're talking about Tennessee in a completely different light. But the game happened, and it's just their resume. There's just not enough there for a 3-loss Tennessee team to be strongly considered.
Okay, with that being said, we tout the SEC as this juggernaut of a conference. Like, they're better than any conference. You put them all together, the SEC still better than any conference. Well, them beating Arkansas, Mississippi State within the conference, Kentucky, shouldn't that be good for them? But now it's being used, and it's just the contrary to what you're saying. That's all. I'm saying, if we consider the SEC the top conference, then beating the team within the SEC is much better than, say, somebody in the ACC beating one of their conference foe, or the Big 10 or the Big 12.
Yeah, I see what you're saying there, but just unfortunately they'll have wins over Florida and Vanderbilt in your scenario too. But Arkansas, Mississippi State, and Kentucky are probably the 3 worst teams in the league. I know Kentucky beat Auburn, and then Florida is playing like the worst team. Florida got run off the field there. So there's just the SEC's strength is in this year is the middle of the league. It's depth, and the top teams are good. They're not as good as usual, but you can't argue the teams at the bottom have not been great this year. I get what you're saying. There's just not enough there in the argument. If it's a 16 team field in a few years, maybe we're talking about a 3-loss Tennessee. But in this scenario right now, especially with a group of 5 team getting in, where you're not just being one of the best 12 teams in the country. You're probably this year have to be one of the best 10 teams in the country.
Now, regardless of how the season finishes for Vandy, I mean, I'm talking about in regards to winning, but when it comes to Diego Pavia in the Heisman Trophy, being not just winning it, but actually just being there, is it going to take for him to beat Kentucky and UT? Is it going to take for him to beat those teams, or does he need to have a moment and just win that UT game?
Yeah, nothing happens in a vacuum. Obviously, we have to see what the other candidates do.
Exactly.
I think he could get there, a finalist with a 9-3 team. Let's just say they beat Kentucky and he does fine. That Tennessee game, I don't know yet if it's a 2:30 ABC game, but that will be on national TV. There will be a lot of eyes on the game for a Vanderbilt team trying to make the playoff, which we thought, heading into the year would be unheard of. If he throws for 350 yards and 4 touchdowns in a classic back and forth game where the nation's watching, I think sure that would not hurt him. So I'm not going to sit here and say Vanderbilt has to go to the playoff for Diego Pavia to be a Heisman finalist. I think what he did in the Auburn game, kind of reaffirmed, because the deal with Diego all year was, okay, maybe his counting stats aren't as good as some of these other guys. Vanderbilt plays more of a ball control offense, and we know his value to the team. But the fact that he went out there and threw for 300 plus, ran for 100 plus, had 4 touchdowns in a kind of a high profile game, I think that kind of turned some heads as well.
Now, how long will it take for not just the committee, but I think other people that follow college football and that talk about it? How long is it going to take them to realize, because of the new landscape of college football, meaning NIL, that the brand may not mean what it used to mean, because it doesn't mean the same to these kids. What matters to these kids is how much you're going to give me. They don't care about your brand anymore. It's how much you're going to give me. How long is it going to take everybody else to realize, hey, listen, maybe this is just the way it's going to be. So you can have a Vandy that's been bad for so long. Now they're going to consistently, not say compete for a national championship, but they're going to consistently be a player within the SEC.
Yeah, I think everyone kind of learns at their own pace. And I admit, like my story earlier about like always thinking Florida State was going to be good. It took me a while to realize that, but your question is pertinent because it's a different era now. So it's tough to get past certain things that we think we know about sports. But I'll just say, as someone who's like inside and follows closely, I pay attention to recruiting far less than I did 4 years ago. Like if I knew that Alabama had X amount of 5 stars, there's just no way that Alabama was not going to be better than this other team. But now the way it works with the transfer portal and all that stuff, I've kind of retrained my brain. I think it's going to take a lot of people several years and more Vanderbilts, other teams like that, to come out of nowhere before we kind of realize that, hey, the landscape really has changed.
Mitch Lett of The Athletic has been our guest on D-Mace, Vingan, and Donick. He joins us every Thursday during college football season to help us preview the weekend and, of course, college football. Mitch, thank you so much for your time. We'll catch up next week.
All right, talk to you guys later. See ya.
Yep.
615-737-1025. We'll take your thoughts on all of the college football action. Again, some really great games in the SEC, specifically Texas at Georgia, Oklahoma at Alabama, another huge game with major CFP implications. And of course, Vanderbilt's off. They play next week against Kentucky. So we'll see what happens. 615-737-1025. Coming up next, we'll attempt to answer the question we were going to answer earlier. Outside of Cam Ward, which Titans player has the most to prove in the second half of the season? We'll take your thoughts. We'll give ours. That's coming up next. 615-737-1025. We are broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. D-Mays, Vingan, and Donick, 102.5. The Game. Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, and David Janes here with you, Willie Donick. Fast asleep, hopefully. It's 11 p.m. in Stockholm, Sweden. Willie with the Predators.
You got a
who
game
will-
tomorrow.
Yes, the Predators finally have a game in Sweden tomorrow, a 1 p.m. Central puck drop. You can hear that game right here on 102.5 The Game. Our show will be on the air as soon as that game is over. So we don't know exactly what time we're going to be on the air tomorrow. It
But
won't
we
be
will
at
be.
3 o'clock. We will be on the air at some point tomorrow afternoon. It just won't be at 3 o'clock. And we will, of course, welcome Willie back with open arms next week.
May
It's
go
been
into overtime.
it could go into overtime,
Yeah.
and the Predators.
Let's hope not.
If it goes to overtime, the Predators are going to probably lose because they always lose in 3-on-3 overtime. But we will get to the Predators in a little bit. Elliot Freeman of Sportsnet will join us at 5 o'clock for his weekly segment. A
Mhm.
lot of stuff to get to with him on the Predators. But let's attempt to answer the question that we were going to answer earlier
Yes.
until we got sidetracked by Chad, who wanted to do a victory lap
Mhm.
on Sam Darnold, which is fine.
Yeah,
I'm
which
all
is
for a
great.
victory lap. Who doesn't love a good victory lap? Who doesn't love to pat themselves on the back?
Mhm.
I'm down for that every once in a while. I try not to do it too much.
But this is a 2-mile relay, 2-mile race. and
Okay.
we've only been through a quarter of the way.
Hmm.
So you still got a long way to go.
We'll see.
Still got a long way to go.
But look, the Titans, the season, it's effectively over. They do have games to play, but they're 1-8. The Texans are in town on Sunday, as we discussed in the first hour. If you don't live in Middle Tennessee, you're SOL because these games won't be on, or this game, not these games, this game, Texans at Titans, is not being aired in Memphis. It's not being aired in Chattanooga. It's not being aired in Knoxville. Davis Mills will be starting at quarterback for the Houston Texans.
Davis Thrills.
Davis Thrills. I know Robbie Stanley loves him. Some Davis Mills. You got to love a quarterback with a long neck. He's all neck. Him and Mike Glennon, all neck. So Davis Mills will be starting at quarterback for the Texans. Some encouraging news for the Tennessee Titans for what it's worth. Jeffrey Simmons back on the practice field today. Limited with his hamstring injury, but he did practice. So there's that.
Merton Hanks was the original long neck, just so you
Okay.
just so you know.
Good to know. Good to know. Here's a random fun fact about this game.
Yes.
The Texans have the NFL's top-ranked scoring and total defense, and the Titans have the league's last-ranked scoring and total offense in the NFL in 2025. This will be just the 6th time since 1970 that the NFL's best scoring and total defense will face the worst scoring and total offense entering the game. The top-ranked defense is 5-0 in the previous 5 meetings with an average margin of victory of 15.8.
So, well, this is going to be a battle of the wills, right?
Yes. A war of attrition, perhaps?
Exactly. Will the best defense,
The best
stop
defense
worst
versus the
offense,
worst offense.
or the worst offense be able to score on the best defense? This is appointment watching,
There-
okay? It's appointment watching.
There's a storyline for you if you're looking for a storyline for this game.
Exactly.
But look, the number one story for the rest of the season is how Cam Ward continues to develop. He's got the most to prove, bar none, in the second half of the season. So here's the question I want us to answer, and you can too, 615-737-1025. Outside of Cam Ward, which Titans player has the most to prove in the second half of the season? I'll start. We played the clip earlier.
Mhm.
I think it's JC Latham.
Yeah.
I think it's JC Latham. And I understand he missed several weeks with a hip injury, but his season to date has not gone well. Pro Football Focus charges JC Latham with 6 sacks allowed, 1 quarterback hit, 7 hurries, and 14 pressures. PFF has this stat called pass blocking efficiency. The definition: it measures pressure allowed on a per snap basis with a weighting towards sacks, a deeper dive into a player's pass protection efficiency that goes beyond just the traditional sacks allowed. JC Latham has a pass blocking efficiency rate of 94.3, which ranks 177th out of 192 tackles, guards, and centers with a minimum of 100 pass block snaps. So J.C. Latham, when he has been on the field, has been one of the worst offensive linemen in the NFL in pass blocking. And again, I understand that he missed some time and that's going to put him behind. But I think that J.C. Latham needs to show in the second half of the season that he has what it takes to be a franchise right tackle that, for the next 5, 6, 7, 8, however many years, that J.C. Latham has that position covered. So far this season, Derek, it has not looked like that.
No, it hasn't. And it's unfortunate because, we thought that the Titans were doing him, what was best and to put him back on the right side where, frankly, many thought that he should play regardless. Anyway, he shouldn't have never been a left tackle. Some people had him as a right tackle. So the Titans put him back in that space and, due to injury and him just not, doing the things that they thought he would do, it hasn't worked out the way the Titans thought. So at least not the first half of the season. And listen, hopefully, he's fully healthy now with the bye week, and we will see a much better J.C. Latham as you move forward, because if it doesn't get better, now you got to question whether you need to go get some type of insurance at the right tackle position, because this was in your mind, you envision JC being your right tackle and Moore being your left for the next at least 3 to 5 years. But it seems like by the play of both of them, that may not happen. So not only do you may have to go get a left tackle, if your right tackle doesn't show that he's improving, that's going to be another position that is going to be a question mark heading into the offseason. So I have no problem with saying that JC has a lot to prove, but I think the guy in my mind is Calvin Ridley, because he started off slow last year with the drops, and then all of a sudden, after the 5th game, somewhere around the 6th game, he started to come on and be, at least the number one for the Titans.
It was right after, coincidentally, wink, wink, right after DeAndre Hopkins left the team.
Exactly. They traded him away. So then his production picked up. Well, again, he started off the season slow. He's had his drops and he's been injured. I think what he does from here on out is going to dictate how much interest he has next year. Because I don't believe, and I could be wrong, I don't believe he will be with the Titans next year.
Yeah, I can't imagine that.
So unless this young man just do a 180 and become one of the top receivers in the National Football League in the second half of the season, then you got a dilemma. Should we keep him or not? But I think if he doesn't, do that, or if he doesn't show that, he can be a viable option, not only do I believe his career here will be over, I don't think there will be many suitors, especially not at the price that he probably would try to command. Again, I think he's still a good player. I've always thought that, but he's been too inconsistent. And if he doesn't pick it up this second half of the season, and they don't even know if he's playing this game, he's back at practice, and that's great. But if he doesn't show up this second half of the season, I don't think he's going to be here unless he does a 180. But his market, I think, will be smaller, much smaller, if he doesn't go out and show that at worst, he's a bona fide, stud of a number 2. He has to prove that. If he doesn't, then why am I going to be ready to go out and sign him or bring him on my team or even trade for him? Let's say that. Why? You hadn't shown me anything. So I think based upon that, Calvin Ridley, and it's going to help the other receivers, and it'll help Cam Ward too. He must have basically a turnaround season this second half.
615-737-1025. You can answer this question as well. Outside of Cam Ward, so take Cam Ward out of it. Which Titans player has the most to prove in the second half of the season as the Titans prepare to open the second half of the season against the Houston Texans on Sunday? One texter says, what about Dan Moore? I think Dan Moore is another great choice. Again, we played that clip earlier of Mike McCoy talking about Dan Moore and J.C. Latham. And by the way, it doesn't get any easier this weekend when Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson come to town. The two of them have combined for 14.5 sacks this season. So it doesn't get any easier from there. In that same pass blocking efficiency rate that I cited with J.C. Latham, Latham ranking 177th out of 192 qualified offensive linemen. Dan Moore is 168th, tied for 168th. So just a little bit better than Latham, but still among the worst tackles, guards, and centers in the league in this pass blocking efficiency statistic. Moore has allowed, according to PFF, 7 sacks, 5 quarterback hits, 13 hurries, 25 pressures. So Moore hasn't been great either. And I think we talked about this last week, Derek. The rap against Dan Moore in Pittsburgh was he allowed a ton of sacks. And I know that we had this conversation when the Titans signed Moore. Well, how much of it is Moore? How much of it is playing with Russell Wilson and Justin Fields?
But then we said, well, he went up, the bulk of the sacks was against Myles Garrett.
Right, and Trey Hendrickson.
Hendrickson.
And all that stuff. And look, you have to overpay for left tackles in free agency because the best left tackles don't make it to free agency. So Dan Moore is absolutely a choice. Josh says L'Jarius Sneed. I think that ship has sailed, Josh.
Yeah, I think that's gone.
He's saying it facetiously, but I'm going to still answer it anyway. Yes, I think Sneed just needs to prove that he can stay out of trouble and maybe get back on the field. But again, I doubt that's going to happen. One texter said, Steven says, the Titans have to decide whether to pick up the 5th-year option of Peter Skoronski after the season, making the remainder of the season critical. Peter Skoronski, look, I know he's a guard, and guards are not fun to talk about. Who wants to talk about a guard? This is not the NBA. In the NBA, you love talking about guards. In the NFL, who cares about guards? But Peter Skoronski, I've been really impressed with him this season. I'm looking for him in the same pass blocking efficiency rating. He's tied for 42nd out of 192 qualified offensive linemen. So he's been really good this season. And again, he's a guard. This team's success does not hinge on Peter Skoronski, but the statistics show he's been playing very well. Again, and it's hard to get people excited. Hey, at least the guard's playing well, but at least the guard's playing well.
Okay, in regards to Peter and the 5th-year option, I think it would be best for the Titans if they, because I'm trying to figure out what would be that 5th-year option price. It may just be better to sign him to a long-term deal than to give him, what's that 5th year? Let me see. Yeah, they don't have it on here, so I don't even know what it would be. And I'm looking at Spot Track. So it may just be best that they sign him to a 3-4 year deal. Because it's not going to take a lot, I don't think, to keep Peter Skoronski. Now, somebody else may choose to, pay more, then you may want to do the 5th-year option. But I think if I'm the Titans, I think he's developed and he's shown that he's developed. I would reward him and assign him to a 3 to 4 year deal or 5-year that ends up being a 3. So that you have some stability at the left guard position and no one else. Because listen, he's not a tackle, but there are teams that are looking for some guards. So you don't want to be one of those teams where at the end of the season, your left tackle ain't playing well, your right tackle is still a project, and the only guy that seems to be developing is your guard, and you don't want to sign him. That doesn't look like a team that talks about draft, development, and retain, does it? No. There's a rhetorical question. So to me, after this season, I would just get a deal done with him. I wouldn't even worry about the fifth year option unless you're going to do the fifth year, knowing that you're going to sign him eventually to a longer term deal. You're just trying to put it off for a year. You're trying to do some other things. But if not, sign Peter to sign him to a 3 to 4 year, a 4 to 5 year deal, with 3 of it being, after 3 you can get out of it.
Do you think Peter Skoronski could reset the guard market?
No.
The highest paid guard in the NFL by average salary is Tyler Smith of the Cowboys. $24 million average salary.
No, he ain't even nowhere close to that.
Trey Smith of Kansas City, $23.5 million.
No.
Landon Dickerson of Philadelphia, $21 million. Chris Lindstrom of Atlanta, $20.5 million.
Okay, let me say this. I'm not going to say, because I've always stood by this. I don't know. We may think that he's worth this or he's not worth that, but it only takes one team. It only takes one team. If Peter Skoronski feels that he's worth 22, 23 million, okay, go out there. And there may be one team that says, you know what? We got enough good guys around us. You're developing. Boom, we're going to slap you in there, and you're going to complete our offensive line. Then the Titans got to make a decision. Do we, offer him a contract that may be more than somebody else? But right now, they don't even have to worry about it, because they could just slap, they could just do the 5th year option with them. But I don't think that he may. Again, there may be one team out there, but from what I've seen, he's not going to reset the market. Now, how much he's going to get, I don't know. But when you talk about resetting the market, you're talking about all pro guys, perennial all pro guys, guys that are not even Pro Bowl guys, but guys that are ranked at the top of their position. Those are market resetting type of guys.
Right. Quentin Nelson is the guard that gets mentioned a lot when you talk about best guards in the NFL. Quentin Nelson, by the way, a 7-time Pro Bowler and a 3-time All-Pro. He makes $20 million a season.
That's a guys like that, they reset the market because of the things that they've done. Peter has gotten better. He didn't start off great. He's gotten better, and he's still developing. But when you go to the table, they want to see what you've done. Like
Steven says, who mentioned Skoronski, says his 5th year option would be $20 million.
They may want to just sign him to it. They may not want to give him that $20 million. They may not. They may want to do work out a deal, with him. But if you're saying $20 million again, you're talking up there with the guys that have been perennial all pros and guys that have been really good at their position for multiple years. And Peter hasn't been that. So yes, the 5th year option is $20 million, but Titans may say, man, listen, let's just sign him to a longer term deal. We don't want to fork over $20 million to a guard that he's okay, he's getting better, but he's not worth $20 million. And then Peter may say, no, we choose to do something else. Say, I'm holding out. I don't know.
Liam on our text line says, D-Mace audibly shocked guards are making 20 plus. LOL.
Yeah, I'm like, man, goodness, $20 million.
It's great work if you can get it.
Exactly. If you can get it, get it. I'm not here saying, what you can and what you cannot get. But, when you talk about those guys, those are guys that are perennial all pro guys.
As I like to say, I have to clean it up, but to quote the esteemed state senator Clay Davis on The Wire, I'll take someone's money if they're giving it away.
Absolutely.
615-737-1025. We'll continue to take your thoughts on this question outside of Cam Ward, because I think the answer is Cam Ward. So let's move Cam Ward off to the side. Outside of Cam Ward, which Titans player has the most to prove in the second half of the season? 615-737-1025. Our phone and text lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We will pick up this conversation on the other side. The MTSU Blue Raiders will take on Western Kentucky this Saturday at 2:30. It's a big rivalry.
Western Kentucky, some say.
Ouch.
Wow.
I'm a true blue, man. 100 miles of hate.
Hey, I don't
man.
blame you. I say the same thing.
100 miles of hate. MTSU, Western Kentucky, this Saturday, 2:30 p.m. Catch all of the action on Totally Hits 93.3, with coverage also available on the Totally Hits Nashville app and at TotallyHitsNashville.com.
Hey, this is Derek Mason. You heard me tell you about Dr. Lodge and his staff over at Cool Springs MD for some time. If you set out to lose weight, chances are it's not your first time setting a goal to shed some extra pounds only to face disappointment. But I got some news. And at Cool Springs MD, Dr. Lodge and his team understand the frustration of this cycle, and that is why they offer a different approach to weight loss. Their comprehensive weight loss program is led by Dr. Jeffrey Lodge and addresses the root cause of weight gain with tailored nutrition, exercise, blood test supplements, and more. They will customize a program specific to you and you only. So connect with Dr. Lodge at CoolSpringsMD.com today to schedule your appointment for a personalized weight loss plan just for you. That's Cool Springs MD, where your weight loss journey becomes a success story.
With Gunnar Helm, it seems like whenever he does get a target, it's a completion. Would you like to see more opportunities for him, especially after against the Chargers, he only got one target?
I want to see more completions all over the board, not just to him, everybody. We got to do a better job to be more efficient offensively. And when he gets his opportunities, without a doubt.
So knowing when he does get those opportunities, it seems like it's frequently a completion. So, is there something you can do to get him the football a little bit?
Yeah, you go. There's plenty of plays that he's in there that you have a game plan for, to say, he's the number one guy in the target, and they take the play away. So it depends on what the coverage is. That happens in every, with every player you have certain targets. If you looked at the call sheet, there's certain things you want to get to the backs, to receivers that are in there, tight ends that are in there, and there's a certain coverage. But yeah, he's definitely made the most of his opportunities. So he should get the ball more.
That was Mike McCoy on Gunnar Helm. Gunnar Helm, 20 catches on 25 targets this season. That is an 80% catch rate. Pretty damn good.
Feed him the ball.
So we're talking about which Titans players have the most to prove in the second half of the season. I mentioned J.C. Latham. Derek mentioned Calvin Ridley. We talked Peter Skoronski. I would throw Gunnar Helm in that category. I agree with the sentiment of feeding Gunnar Helm the ball more. Again, he has caught 80% of his targets, 20 catches on 25 targets. Looking at qualified receivers, not just tight ends, but running backs and receivers, Gunnar Helm's 80% catch rate ranks tied for 26th in the NFL.
He's a big body, huge radius.
Out of 141 qualified receivers.
Yeah. It showed me on that, I forgot what game that was, and it was a third down, and Cam, the dude was draped over.
Is that the
Helm.
Arizona game?
Yeah, and he threw that out to him, and he threw it in that catch radius that only Gunnar Helm could come up with, being 6'5". That's what you need to continue to work on. Those type of catches and getting him into a rhythm, because the more and more he makes those tough catches, the more and more confidence he builds as a pass catcher. He's a matchup problem, being that big, and he has speed to get down the field. And he's shown that he can make that combat catch. So it would behoove them to get him more involved. Now, I understand you can you can make him the first option and then them taking it away, but you also can design a play in such a way that, hey, listen, if they take away that first option, here's Gunnar Helm. Boom, that second option, on that third option, back. They'll always be aware of that guy coming across on that drag route, because he may be open. So you can always fit him within the scheme or whatnot, but they can't move forward and say, well, we're not going to target him this much this game. There needs to be a concerted effort, not just with him, but I think with DK and Alec as well. Now, Alec leads all of them, with the exception of Chig, and no, he leads everybody in targets. So they need to sort of expand on that more, not just with them, but with Gunnar and with DK. And again, Ridley, you're back. Now you got to prove to us that you are the number one option, instead of, you're the second or third guy.
By the way, because I just mentioned the game in Arizona, at some point, somebody is going to put together a list of the worst losses in NFL history. And that game is going to have to be on it for the Arizona Cardinals. Just thinking back to it, everything that happened, the fact that the Titans could go 1-16 and only won a game because the Cardinals vomited all over themselves. Like, I know it's been weeks since that game, but man, what a terrible loss by the Arizona Cardinals. Just terrible.
Yeah, and it was a good win for the Titans in a sense, but I guess fans are probably like, no.
Look, Cam Ward did his part at the end of the game. So good on Cam Ward. But if the Titans end up falling out of the number one pick slot,
people look at that game.
Titans fans will be like, damn it, Arizona. So
And one of those on that comeback, one of those passes was to Gunnar Helm
yes,
on the sideline.
it was. Josh on our text line says, most approved. What about big boy in the middle, Tavondre Sweat? That is a good choice as
you're
well.
right. You're right. And I do. I hope Tavondre is one of those guys that, because he's in a situation right now because his name was in potential trade rumors. Maybe you're not in great favor with the organization right now. And you can even see by the way that McCoy answered the question about Tavondre Sweat, there was a little apprehension in there, like, we're trying to get him, not he is getting himself. It's like they're trying to get him going, like, oh, come on, we're trying everything. So I hope that Tavondre, and it seems like, he is, listen, take that personal, man, and come out this second half and prove to them that you were worth that second round pick and you plan on, building on what you did last season. So yeah, they're right. Tavondre has a lot to prove this second half of the season as well.
One texter says, Tony Pollard may have to prove he's still got something in the tank. Otherwise, I don't see him on the team next year. This is Larry, by the way. I wouldn't be surprised if they draft a running back. Well, I don't think Tony Pollard's going to be on the team next year anyway, do you?
No, I don't. If he's on a team, I mean, honestly, I would rather, it's just like Derrick Henry. And I'm not saying he's Derrick Henry. I'm just saying this situation is sort of like Derrick Henry. Listen, Pollard has shown what he can do here. He's a tough, hard-nosed, runner, and he's a lunch pail type of guy. Right now, in the position that the Titans are in, they need more than that. They need a game changer. They need a dynamic player at that position. His talent is better suited for a team that's ready. Like if he goes to Kansas City, it fit right in, or say the Chargers, he'd fit right in. They're ready to go. They're ready to roll. And he just needs to be a strong part of what they do. Here, it's almost like you need to be more. And right now, I mean, Pollard, good back, but he's not the dynamic back that I think this offense needs. And I think that's why Tyjae Spears is they keep on giving him opportunity after opportunity because they see that in him. He just needs to stay available long enough for him to be able to consistently put it together. But either way, I don't think Pollard, and I'm not saying that because I don't think he could play. He's just not for this team.
One texter with two submissions. Mm-hmm. One, Snead needs to prove his innocence more than anything on the field at the moment. Ayo.
Yeah.
That same texter also said, improved wildcat formation success, such as never using the wildcat formation again ever. Because that was a thing a couple of weeks ago, right?
Yeah, I think that wild card was, I'm not sure. I wouldn't completely get rid of the wildcat play. Excuse me, I said wildcat play. I wouldn't get rid of it, but it just almost seemed like they just threw it in there just to be thrown in there. Like, let's see if this worked. Because have they went to that play before that game, and have they been in that play since that game? Now maybe they do in the second half, but it seemed like it's almost like you need to work at that play some more in practice, really work at it and like 100 times before you decide to go out and run it again or make it more of your offense. That was just like, oh, let's do this. That's the way it felt. And it didn't work neither time.
I'm just thinking about this game on Sunday. Mm-hmm. Texans at Titans at noon at Nissan Stadium. And between CJ Stroud not playing, Davis Mills starting, as I read to you before, the Texans have the top total in scoring defense. The Titans have the worst scoring in total offense. Maybe Jeffrey Simmons comes back. Maybe Calvin Ridley comes back. This game, I can already tell you, It's going to be a tough watch. The Titans are a tough watch anyway, which brings us back to our original point today about how, at least according to 506sports.com, only Middle Tennessee is getting the Titans game this weekend. Memphis isn't, Knoxville isn't, Chattanooga isn't. I guess those cities got the memo that, hey, the Titans are a tough watch. But, of course, living in Nashville or in the Middle Tennessee area, you're obligated to show the game. But I just, look, I'm going to watch it. But, man, I just have this feeling already. I have a feeling that this game is going to be like some disgusting offensive slog where the final score is like 13-3.
It has the potential to be that. I'm not saying that it's not going to.
Just prepare yourselves now. You have 3 days. Just put yourself in that frame of mind. Just think to yourself, man, this game is going to be ugly.
But we also can think, okay, they've had a whole week to evaluate, the first 7-8 games of the season, things they did wrong, things they did right, and you figure they improve on them. Let's do this some more. They come out the first game and they do some things that they haven't done or plays they haven't shown, because that's the way that's how it happens. If you have a bye week, out of that bye week, there's going to be a handful of plays that you hadn't shown yet in the season, unless your bye week is later in the season. But right now, there's still a handful of plays out of the play action and this other stuff that they haven't shown. Hopefully, those plays will now enter into the playbook, and hopefully those are the things that they will do against the Houston Texans that the Texans are not, haven't planned for or haven't prepared against. And maybe just for this game, they end up having a good offensive output against a team that has a very good defense. But because the Titans have had that extra week to prepare and self-evaluate, it may come out, it may look a little different, at least for this game when it talks about the Titans offense. I'm hoping that's what happens.
One texter says final score is 19-9 for sure. I just double checked this. That would not be a scoregami. There have been 19-9 games in the NFL. Let's quickly go to Ed in East Nashville on our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHunter.com. Ed, thank you for calling. Please go ahead.
Hey, real quick, guys.
Yes.
Hey, listen, I've been thinking about the Titans situation the last couple of years, and I think the only mistake, and I say only, but it's a pretty big mistake. I think the mistake they made 2-3 years ago when they had thoughts of getting rid of Derrick Henry, Tannehill was hurt. We had a lot of talent. They got rid of A.J. Brown. At that point, they should have treated it like an old car. Do I get a new car or do I try to keep repairing this car? And they started bringing in free agents, and they should have just rebuilt the program 2-3 years ago. And I don't think they would be in this situation. I don't think you can bring in free agents, pay out all that money, because you're not going to win. That's just the way the NFL is. We didn't have a quarterback, so you weren't going to win. I think they should have just, cut ties with all those free agents and just started building within the draft. What do you think, Derek?
Thanks, Ed.
Thank you, Ed. I think a part of the reason why they didn't is, the owner comes out and says, we got a young, exciting quarterback, and she was talking about Will Levis. And when your owner comes out and says something like that, in the off season or leading up to the season, I mean, there's no rebuilding. You ain't rebuilding. You're just going to try to add on to and go for there. They tried to add on to L'Jarius Sneed, stuff like that, and it just hadn't worked out. And maybe the caller's right. Maybe at that point in time when Derrick Henry was nowhere to be found, and Kevin Byard was gone, and this was even before AJ. Well, it was after AJ. I mean, so you knew AJ was gone already, but maybe then they should have said, you know what, let's do this reset right now. Even though Will Levis is our quarterback and we believe in him, let's still do a reset and kind of go from there. But they did.
615-737-1025. We'll continue to take your thoughts on which Titans players have the most to prove outside of Cam Ward in the second half of the season. Elliot Freeman of Sportsnet will join us at the top of the hour. But before we get there, Derek, you asked me a question today about the Predators and something that you think we should keep in mind when discussing how the team has been struggling? Well, I put on my big ass glasses and I did some research, and I will provide that answer for you coming up next. 615-737-1025. We are brought to you by Bax Homeworks, which financing options are available. I didn't know which tag to read there. Financing options are available to make your remodel easier than you think with Bax Homeworks. Get a free estimate at baxhomeworks.com. We'll make this one quicker.
Derek Mason here, and if you've injured yourself in a motorcycle accident, go to lawtigers.com for your free case evaluation. Even if your accident was months ago, you have nothing to lose by calling Law Tigers. Insurance companies want to pay out as little as possible, or frankly, nothing at all. Law Tigers make sure you get the compensation you deserve and doesn't get paid until your case has been settled. They understand how much your bike is worth to you, so they will help you get it all repaired or better yet replaced. Law Tigers is the resource the motorcycle community turns to when in need. So whether it's to support you at an event or if they see you broken down on the side of the road, with Law Tigers, you'll never ride alone. So call 1-800-LAW TIGERS or visit lawtigers.com. Law Tigers is powered by Freeman and Fuson, and you can find them in Nashville, located at 2126 21st Ave South. That's Law Tigers, Tennessee's motorcycle lawyers.
I'm just curious, how much do you guys miss your captain, Roman Yossi, not just on the ice, but also off the ice as a leader?
No, I mean, first of all, Roman should be here. I think he and Smitty and Jeff Biddle, our trainer, obviously would have loved to have all three of them here. But on the ice, you miss him tremendously. He's obviously an all-star player. He's one of those guys that can just change the game in any moment, given his talent. And just as a leader too, it's obviously a leader that you want to play with, you want to play for, and so I think simple as that, Roman should be here.
That was Philip Forsberg in Stockholm, Sweden, his home country, as the Predators prepare to take on the Pittsburgh Penguins in 2 games as part of the NHL's Global Series. First game tomorrow with a 1 p.m. Central puck drop. Sunday's game an 8 a.m. Central puck drop. Both of those games, of course, right here on 102.5 The Game. So you heard Philip Forsberg there, Derek, talking about Roman Josi, who's been out for the past 10 games with injury.
And that's not even dating back to last year. I mean, he missed
He
portion
missed-
of last
he
year.
missed
last
a lot of
25
games,
games
yep.
last year.
That's correct.
And then he misses 10 games this season.
Correct. So you asked me, because we've been talking about the Predators' struggles and what to do with Andrew Burnett and Barry Trotz and all that stuff. And you asked me this morning, how much of an impact has the absence of Roman Josi made on the Predators? And should we take that into consideration when discussing the Predators' struggles? So here's what I did. As you mentioned, Roman Josi has missed considerable time over the past 2 seasons. He has missed a total of 39 games over the past 2 seasons. So 39 out of the Predators' 100 games since the start of last season, Josi has been out of the lineup. The Predators' record with Roman Josi in 61 games, 21 wins, 32 losses, 8 overtime losses. Without Josi, 14 wins, 21 losses, 4 overtime losses. So the NHL, the way they track these things, it's called points percentage. Simple enough. How many available points are you getting out of the total games? The Predators' points percentage with Roman Josi in the lineup since the start of last season, 0.410. The Predators' points percentage without Roman Josi in the lineup since the start of last season, 0.410.
Wow.
They have the same points percentage with and without Roman Josi in the lineup since the start of last season. So
But is that the end all? Like, is it just as easy or as clear as saying, you know, or looking at it and saying the point difference is exactly the same? Or can we look at it a little bit more nuanced than that and say,
okay,
listen, if he's on the ice in those losses, maybe they're different.
Well, here's the thing. Roman Josi is still one of the top defensemen in the NHL. The list of defensemen who I would take over Roman Josi on my team, there aren't many of them. Now, that list has grown over the past few years. There was a time not too long ago where I could have counted the number of defensemen who I would take over Roman Josi on one hand. Now you probably need to, maybe part of a third. But Roman Josi, to me, is still one of the top defensemen in the NHL. So I get your point. But what I thought I might see when you asked me that question was the Predators' record was significantly worse without Roman Josi than with Roman Josi. But just looking at the points percentage with and without Roman Josi since the start of last season, it's identical. So before anybody says, well, clearly the Predators don't need Roman Josi anymore, that's not what I'm getting at. My point is, as nice as that sounds, and Willie has made this defense as well. You heard it on Monday when we had Willie on the show. You heard it yesterday when I talked to Willie from Sweden. It's something to point at. Hey, the Predators haven't had Roman Josi in the lineup, so let's cut them some slack. Based on simply the records, I'm not cutting any slack. It's the same. It's identical.
But you are, with your big ass classes, you are smarter than that. You know that it's not.
You're
just
giving
that.
me too much credit.
There's more nuances in it, because say if the last minutes of the game you got Roman in, it may look a little different than when not having him in the game the last minutes, or having him on a power play compared to not having him on a power play. I think there's just, and this is, listen, y'all know how I feel about analytics. I love analytics, but damn it, just let me look at the game first. Let me watch the game. And then I'm not wiping away analytics. Willie and Adam, they love analytics. I like analytics.
Watch the
They
game, nerd.
love analytics. I'm just saying, let me just watch it, okay? And I gotta believe if Roman Yossi was fully healthy and playing and not getting hurt, coming back, having to work through that, getting hurt, coming. If that had not happened, then maybe, just maybe, the team looks a little bit different. I understand what the numbers say, but I would love to have seen that team with him in those circumstances that they did lose without them. What would it had looked like had he been in the game? I know what it looked like before, and I know the numbers say the same in regards to that one analytic.
Well, it's
But
not really an analytic. It's simply the record.
Yeah, it's the record. But if he had played those games, would it have been different?
That's a question I can't answer. Look, again, the Predators.
And that's what analytics does. It tries to answer the questions you can't answer or I can't answer.
The Predators are worse off without Roman Yossi. Record aside, the Predators are worse off without Roman Yossi. But I am unwilling to use his absence as a
crutch.
A crutch. That's a good word. I was going to say a workaround for the Predator struggles, because the Predator struggles are across the board. Yossi hasn't been Roman Yossi, but like even a less than stellar Roman Yossi is still a pretty damn good player. You know, the problem is that the team has just been a disaster since the start of last season, and that's what makes these upcoming games against the Penguins tomorrow afternoon and Sunday morning locally here. That's what makes those games so important. If the Predators play the way they did on Monday, tomorrow and Sunday, again, like I can't see a scenario where the Predators don't make some sort of change. I mean, I guess I could, because Barry Trotz has defended Andrew Brunette tooth and nail. And we'll talk more about this in just a few moments with Elliot Freeman. We'll get the inside scoop from the esteemed insider from Sportsnet. But I said on Monday, this week is critical, not only for the team, but for the coach. And the first test was a gigantic failure. So I appreciate your question. I'm going to pull out the Mac Rhodes from talking about Vanderbilt and Notre Dame. I appreciate your question. I just can't get there. I was actually astounded to find out that they have identical points percentages with and without Yossi in the lineup. I was expecting the record to be better with Yossi than without him. But it doesn't all hinge on Roman Yossi. But he is the player on the team who can make things happen out of nowhere, like really nobody else on the team can. So we'll see when Yossi gets back into the lineup. I believe the Predator said when he first left the lineup that this injury, whatever he's dealing with, is unrelated to the POTS.
Okay.
That he was diagnosed with over the summer. So that's a relief, I suppose.
Yes.
But you can never rule out, some sort of head injury with Roman Yossi just because he has a history of those. But we will get back to the hockey conversation. We'll ask Elliot Friedman of Sportsnet all these questions about Andrew Brunette and Barry Trotz and where the Predators go from here. Because for my money, nobody has better information on the NHL than Elliot Friedman. And we will welcome in Elliot Friedman to the program. Coming up next, 615-737-1025. Derek Mason and Adam Vingan. We are broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. D. Mace, Vingan, and Donick, 102.5 The Game. Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, David Janes here with you. Willie Donick still in Sweden with the Nashville Predators, who take on the Pittsburgh Penguins starting tomorrow as part of 2 games with the NHL's Global Series, a 1 p.m. Central puck drop right here on 102.5 The Game. And to help us talk about the Nashville Predators and the league in general, we go to our phone line, driven by Wilson County, Hyundai.com, and welcome in our good friend Elliot Freeman of Sportsnet. He is presented by Old National Bank. Get old. Hello, Elliot. How are you?
I'm good, Adam. How are you doing?
I am doing well. Thank you for asking. So, obviously, with the way things are going for the Predators, a lot of people around here are wondering about the fate of Andrew Brunette. I said at the beginning of the week, this week was critical, not only for him, but for the entire team. The first test was a colossal failure against the Rangers on Monday. They play Friday, Sunday in Sweden. Then they're off until next Saturday. Could something go down once the Predators return from Sweden if the games against the Penguins don't go well over the weekend?
I think it's possible. Like these 2 games have a really big feel to them. I think that's very fair to say. I work and live in a city right now where there's I think people are a bit more secure here, but I know what it's like to go through to ride the emotional roller coaster, and when games feel heavy, these games for the Predators do feel heavy. And, one of the things I really do feel is that I think Nashville wanted to get to Sweden to see if that would, like the NHL season's a long, drawn out, tiring thing. And I think they wanted to see if going there, getting a chance to do whatever. Like I've seen a lot of good video and pictures over the past couple of days. You get to have a day where you go do something a little different, go see the city. Maybe in some way it rejuvenates you, gets you going a little bit for those guys, especially who are Swedes, and maybe inject some life into you. But if it doesn't go well, Adam, I think anything is possible, and we'll see when they get back. Like let's just put it that way. I definitely think a lot of people are looking at Nashville saying, what is going to give here?
And I admire Barry Trotz's resolve, I guess you could say, in this situation. He has stood by Andrew Brunette through thick and thin. He's exercised extraordinary patience. And Trotz has mentioned the patience that David Poile had for him when Trotz was coaching here for 15 years. But my question, Elliot, is I can't think of a better way to say this. Is that viewpoint a bit old-fashioned? We know that NHL coaches, they suffer from a high turnover rate. Outside of John Cooper and Jared Bednar, and you can throw Rod Brindamore in there as well, coaches get recycled so easily. So although I admire Barry Trotz's patience a little bit, is his way of is the patience maybe a little bit too old-fashioned for what the NHL really is when it comes to coaches?
It's a good question. I'm going to sidestep it a bit in the sense that, first of all, I think this. Number one, Barry Trotz was a coach, and he understands what Brunette's going through. As you mentioned, the loyalty that Poile showed him, I don't even know so much, Adam, if it's loyalty, as much as it is that when you're a coach and you're going through a tough spot, I think there's a certain way I'm going to try to treat you. So I think that is first and foremost in Barry Trotz's mind. I'm going to try to treat Andrew Brunette with the respect I would have hoped to have gotten and did get in my coaching career. I'll tell you a quick story. The angriest Barry Trotz ever got at me was in the playoffs one year. Washington knocked out Columbus. I think it was the year they won the Stanley Cup.
That's correct.
And the cameras caught John Tortorella and Barry Trotz's handshake. And it wasn't I don't know that it was ever aired, but it was sent to me. I guess what happened was it got fed somewhere, and somebody sent it to me. And Tortorella says to Trotz, how's your situation here? Are you going to be fine? Because at the time, Trotz's contract was up. And he said, and Trotz was caught on camera saying, no, I'm gone. And Tortorella was like, he had a look on his face like, I can't believe it. And I showed that and I reported it, and Trotz was furious at me. He was like, first of all, he was mad it got out. And secondly, it was in the playoffs and it became a thing in Washington. And he, when we finally talked about it, he was like, I didn't think that was right. Like, I think he was mad it kind of got out sort of in a back channel way, but he was also kind of mad the way I handled it. And I've always remembered that. And I just think that as a guy who was a coach, he thinks there's a certain way coaches should be treated. Now, there's a second part to this, Adam, and that is I think that there's a new owner in Nashville. And, he was on the road trip through Toronto and the other Canadian cities early in the season. And even though he's kind of been in the picture, now he's the guy with the majority control. And I think what the Bill Haslam is doing is he is gaining a foothold. He is trying to understand how it all works. Like I said, he went on the road trip. He wanted to see everything firsthand. And I think that one of the factors in all this is that he wants to make the right decision organizationally. And I think one of the questions we're all wondering is, if Nashville makes a change, is that going to mean that Trotz is going to coach or someone else is going to coach? And I think that's a factor in all of this. And, I've just heard that Haslam is trying to learn as much as he can. It's like cramming for an exam, but he wants to make good decisions. The other thing you guys got a kick out of this, and I respect it. The other thing I was kind of told about Haslam is he hates leaks. And he thinks that the hockey world is very leaky. So I think that he is trying his best to keep things under wraps. So I think part of this is also you've got a new owner who is trying to do his research and might make the right decision for the team. And I can never fault someone who's, from what I understand, like, he's sincere and he's real and he cares a lot about the Predators. And he's like, I don't want the organization rushing into decisions that we might regret.
Elliot Freeman of Sportsnet is with us on D-Mace, Vingan, and Donick. Elliot, let's keep it to the coaches. We'll talk about
D-Mace not get to talk? Do you have them locked in a closet there?
No.
Hey, Adam's asking. I got a few questions, but Adam.
Okay, all right. I'm making sure. I'm just looking out for you, D-Mace. Okay?
Thank you. I appreciate it, Elliot.
No, I can't force Derek Mason to do anything.
That's true. Yeah.
So let's just talk coaching candidates in general. You mentioned what could happen, right? With Barry Trotz coming back down on the bench. Luke Richardson is also already on the bench for the Predators. He has head coaching experience. Right. But I'm looking at coaching candidates around the league. Pete DeBoer is the name on the marquee for whichever team makes a coaching change first. But who are some of the other names out there who could be called upon if jobs come open? One name that popped into my head today, Jay Woodcroft, the former Oilers head coach, who, if I'm not mistaken, Elliot, is on Joe Quenneville's bench in Anaheim.
He is.
So who are some of the DeBoer is the one everybody talks about, but who are some of the other available coaches who could fill in if a team makes a change?
Well, I think number two is, if you guys are making a change, it's probably a rebuild, right? Like,
yes.
Do you guys think I'm wrong about that?
I mean, the Predators have resisted it for a long time, Elliot.
It's hard to say it will be.
They may be forced to do it, but
yeah, you know what? Like, the thing is, I'm not sure Pete DeBoer. Like, I think Pete DeBoer is really good at turning things around quick, but I don't know that Pete DeBoer is the right guy for the Predators at this time. I think everybody here has to be honest about where the team is and what needs to happen. And I don't think Pete DeBoer is necessarily that guy. I think Jay Woodcroft would be an excellent choice. the challenge is, like, some of these teams don't like giving up assistant coaches during the season. Now, there are teams that will say, look, if you get a chance at the promotion, you can go, but it's a little more complicated. Like, I think I really like Luke Richardson's one of the best people in the league. And he's one of the best people out there. And I always have time for Luke Richardson. I'll say this, that if you're looking for a young and up and comer, and he's resisted it before, but the name you'll hear a lot is David Carl, who's the head coach at the University of Denver. And he's won a couple of national championships, and Chicago wanted him this year. They badly wanted him to be the guy. And he ultimately decided, for family reasons, to stay with at school there. But I would at least expect that if the Predators do consider a rebuild or a retool or whatever you want to call it, that is a guy that they would call. But you definitely would not get him during the season.
Now, Elliot, with that being said, would it even be sort of beneficial for the Predators to even make a change right now at head coach? Because, listen, outside of some of these guys that they may trade, may not trade, are they going to get the necessary bump that they need, that some teams do get when you fire a coach? Or even are they equipped at this stage to see any bump? Or is it, hey, listen, we got to fire him because he's lost the locker room? I think right now that's the only reason you fire him, is if he's lost the locker room. If he hasn't lost the locker room and guys are still battling for him and playing for him, then I think you let him ride it out and make your decision at the end of the year. Because I don't think whether they fire him or keep him, this team is on their way to the playoffs.
Well, first of all, D-Mace, I want to say I've been watching online, and that beard is spectacular.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you. I like the great beard. It's grown on me.
I don't know if you saw Joe Thornton this week at the Hockey Hall of Fame. That's a spectacular beard. I had one during COVID that was a really good beard, but I'm really liking the look, D-Mace.
Thank you.
I really
I
like the look.
appreciate it.
One day he forgot to dye it, and he just kept it, and it looks good on him.
Man, I like
No,
it.
you know what? I got to tell you something. Like, I always tell people this, like, we have to change as a society the fear of aging.
Absolutely.
I don't think there's anything wrong with aging gracefully. I have a bald spot. I showed it. I took a picture. Like, I went to see Vikings Lions last week, and I got a Chuck Foreman jersey. So I'm a big Chuck Foreman fan. And I took a picture from the back, and I had my bald spot there. And people are like, okay, Elliot, time to go to Turkey. And I'm like, no, like, I'm balding. Like, that is just the way it is. Okay.
Exactly.
So like, we age, like, we can deal with it. Honestly, to me, Derek, there's two reasons you're going to make a coaching change. And number one is sort of tied into what you said. Have you lost the room? And I tie that also into, they have young players that they want. Like, whenever the Predators straighten out, there's some young players there that are going to be a part of it, and you feel that they're developing. If you feel they're developing, like, Kemmel when he comes up and plays, like, guys like that, are they getting better? Then you say that then that's a reason that you maybe keep them. So I think that's important. I think the other reason that you do it is, sometimes you get a crisis of consumer confidence. And you guys are in Nashville, better than me. Like, I have seen teams say before, like, hey, our fans are hitting us in the wallets. We have to take a look at something here. So I think those are the only reasons you do it. Like, I'll tell you, the one game I watched really closely was last Saturday afternoon against Dallas. And I thought you guys played really hard, like, really hard. And it was a tough loss. You don't like it, but you battle. Like, I didn't look at that game and said, that's a team that's not playing. The Ranger one, as you said, Adam, at the top, that was tough. I didn't get a chance to watch a lot that night. It was the Hockey Hall of Fame night, but I saw the score and I asked a couple of people and they were like, wasn't very good. So that's why I think these Penguin games are so important, because I agree with you, Derek, and you've played. Like, if players are playing for a coach you can ride it out. If they're not, well, then you got a problem.
Now, obviously, the trade deadline is months out.
Long way away.
Yeah, months out. But we've talked about whether Stamkos or O'Reilly would be one of those guys that would be potential trade guys that you can get something for. Outside of those two guys, is there other guys that may have gained buzz around the league as far as potential trades within the Nashville Predators?
Well, you know what? I think yes. I mean, we'll see what happens with Stamkos, obviously. We'll see what O'Reilly. And again, I'm still, as we talked about, I'm still under the impression that this is going to be O'Reilly's decision. So that's, he's obviously a guy there are teams that would love to have Ryan O'Reilly. And even though he said I can't complete a pass, he's actually, I think, played pretty well this year. I mean, I'm sure that there are guys there that you guys aren't even thinking of moving. So I'll throw those names away. But I've wondered about a guy like Bunting. I've wondered about a guy like Holla. I've wondered about a guy like Marchessault, who would have to give his permission. All of these guys, are talented players who I think, depending on what you guys could do, could have interest. I mean, I know there's been rumors about Saros in Edmonton. I'm not sure I'm buying that. I really don't. I don't know how the Predators the Oilers make that work. And, I'll tell you something else, and this goes back to who we talked about before, the new owner. One thing I don't know about is how does he feel about retaining money? I think that's a question that would have to be asked is, some owners are okay with it. Some owners aren't. I don't know what the answer is here. I just don't know him well enough to answer that question. And I think that's going to be another thing that is going to have to be an equation in all of this.
Elliot, you did touch on UC Saros, and I was going to ask you about those rumors that appear to be floating around now. And I agree, just looking at the contract, and look, Saros's cap hit is manageable for a number one goalie. But I know the Oilers are mentioned a lot in this because of their goaltending struggles with Stuart Skinner. But help me if you can recall. I was trying to think about this yesterday. How often has a player been traded in the first year of an 8-year contract, or even the first year of a 7-year contract? That's the part about this that I can't wrap my head around. Saros being mentioned in all of this.
Well, the thing is, it's rare. Off the top of my head, Adam, I can't think about anybody, but. The one thing that's happened here, Adam, is that the whole equation has changed, right? The Predators are in a position that none of us thought they would be in. So I think that's why, a year ago, who would have thought we'd even be talking about, we're not even halfway into a second season in Nashville, and we're talking about trading Stamkos, right? Who would have thought that would have ever happened? So I think that's Adam, the whole world's been turned upside down. You're in a situation that nobody ever thought you'd be in. And when your team is having this kind of run, all of these things start to get thrown out there.
Elliot Friedman of Sportsnet has been our guest on D. Mays, Fang, and Adonic. He joins us every Thursday at 5 o'clock during hockey season, and he is presented by Old National Bank. Get old. And although we're all getting old, as Elliot said, we should all be allowed to age gracefully.
Absolutely.
100%. I just want to see, I'm going to be watching tomorrow up here. We're carrying the games between Nashville and Pittsburgh, and I better not see any dark bags under Willie Donic's eyes. That's what I'm going to say right now.
We'll see. We miss Willie. We haven't seen him around lately, but yes, we'll see him tomorrow on the FanDuel Sports Network / NHL Network broadcast. Elliot, great stuff as always. Thank you so much for your time.
All right, guys. Have yourselves a great week.
You as well. 615-737-1025. We will react to what Elliot Friedman had to say coming up next. I also want to get to an interesting story in the NFL. I just talked about, I can't imagine UC Saros being traded. There's also talk about a certain coach in the NFL getting fired that I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around. We'll discuss that next. 615-737-1025. Derek Mason and Adam Vingan. We are presented by Bax Homeworks, which transforms kitchens, bathrooms, and living spaces into places you can't wait to come home to. Get a free estimate now at baxhomeworks.com.
I understand you guys are 5-3-1, still have a playoff spot right now, and you're going to say you're always coaching for your job, but you don't have a long-term extension. With the way things have gone this season, do you think you're coaching for your job?
I'm not. I'll leave that for everybody else to decide. I'll just focus on the day-to-day and trying to do. I feel like you're always coaching for everything in this league. You know, that's just my mindset. It's always been that way. You know, you can't ever exhale. You got to always be pushing, and that's just my mindset. So, and that will be my mindset until they tell me not to coach anymore.
That was Green Bay Packers head coach Matt LaFleur on Monday after the Green Bay Packers lost to the Philadelphia Eagles. What was the score of that game? 10-7? Indeed.
Yeah. Baseball score.
So there's been a lot of chatter in the NFL about the job status of Matt LaFleur, who, of course, at one time was the Tennessee Titans offensive coordinator all the way back in 2018. LaFleur parlayed that one season into the Packers head coaching job starting in 2019. The Packers have the third best win-loss percentage in the NFL since LaFleur arrived in 2019, a record of 72, 36, and 1. The Packers have made the playoffs in 5 of LaFleur's first 6 seasons, and yet people are wondering, with his contract status, there's a change at president in Green Bay. I don't pretend to know everything that's going on over there, but I find it interesting that LaFleur could be on the hot seat. And my question, and Derek, you even brought this up to me randomly a couple of weeks ago about, hey, should the Titans have hired Matt LaFleur to be their coach at one point? Well, maybe they'll have the opportunity if he loses his job in Green Bay, which again, I this is a better question for Robbie Stanley, who loves the Green Bay Packers, but I just have a hard time imagining LaFleur losing his job. But if he does, should he skyrocket to the top of the Titans wish list for coaches?
I mean, why not? You know, he's been a part of developing a damn good quarterback. His offenses have been, you know, at the top of the league with Aaron Rodgers and without Aaron Rodgers. See, that was sort of the litmus test, was how would they be without Aaron Rodgers? Because he spent 2 years with Aaron Rodgers and went to the playoffs and all this other stuff. Aaron Rodgers won an MVP with him. I believe he was there that year. If not, he came the next year. But that was is LaFleur a bona fide coach, or is he just riding the coattails of Aaron Rodgers? Well, Aaron Rodgers went off to the Jets, and the Green Bay Packers continued to ascend. Their quarterback continued to develop. I don't understand. I mean, listen, their division is tough. You know, with the Lions and now the resurgence of the Bears. You look at what Minnesota has been able to do. This has went from being a division to one of the toughest divisions in the National Football League. And if you want to fire your head coach, you know, and he's done a great job since he's been there, then, hey, listen, if you want to fire him, he may just go up to the top of the list when it comes to Titans head coaches, because, again, they loved him so much so that he was one of the finalists, and they end up making him their offensive coordinator. So they really loved what he was saying in the meetings, but they just liked Vrabel a little bit more, you know? So if you have an opportunity, and he's shown now, because before he hadn't shown anything. He didn't show if he could develop a core. He didn't show if he could really run an offense in the team. Well, now that you've seen it with the Green Bay Packers, I think if the Green Bay Packers is that dumb to fire their head coach and think, oh, we're just going to keep on going, then I would make him, you know, he wouldn't be number one, but he has to now be in the equation.
So part of the reason why LaFleur has come under criticism is because the Packers have lost 3 games this season, allowing 16 or fewer points, including on Monday, a 10-7 loss to the Eagles. ESPN says that those 3 such losses are already the most of the season by a Packers team since 1978. So remember, they traded for Micah Parsons, right? And the defense is holding up its end of the bargain. I know the Packers lost Tucker Kraft. Looking at Jordan Love's numbers on paper, they're not bad. He's completing nearly 70% of his passes. He's thrown for more than 2,200 yards. He has 13 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. 3 interceptions. But he had that huge second half of the season, right, in 2023. And that led to him signing a gigantic contract. By average salary, he is tied with Joe Burrow, Trevor Lawrence, and Josh Allen. Again, an average salary, Dak Prescott, number one at $60 million in terms of average salary. I had to go back and look. In 2018, when LaFleur called the plays for the Tennessee Titans offense, the Titans offense averaged fewer than 20 points per game, which was 27th in the NFL. That was the win and you're in game at the end of the season with the Colts. Blaine Gabbert had to start that game because Marcus Mariota was hurt. Titans lost. Colts made the playoffs. Titans, of course, did not make the playoffs. I think Titans fans also remember LaFleur for not going to Derrick Henry for most of the season. And then, of course, LaFleur was the OC when Derrick Henry had his breakout performance, that 238-yard game against the Jags with the 99-yard run. So I know that there are Titans fans who ding LaFleur for that, for not going to Derrick Henry sooner than he did. But yeah, I don't pretend to know everything about the Green Bay Packers, but I've seen this talked about on ESPN when I've been able to watch ESPN. I do have the ESPN app, but First Take and Get Up, and I've heard Adam Schefter talk about it on different podcasts, and The Athletic is writing about it with a headline, Why Packers Matt LaFleur Might Be Coaching for His Job After a Loss to Eagles. So it would surprise me. It would surprise me if the Packers were to make this move. Again, they've been incredibly successful under Matt LaFleur. His offenses have ranked in the top 11 in 4 of his 6 seasons with the Packers. But if he does come available, I think that would be interesting. I wonder if LaFleur, the Titans don't have to worry about this, but I wonder if LaFleur is one of those coaches who, if he becomes available, you fire your coach in order to try to get Matt LaFleur.
Well, the Titans already did that.
Yeah, so that part's been taken care of.
But again, I think unless, they're under new management, I think, aren't they?
Team president.
Yeah. Maybe he doesn't get along with, it doesn't mesh well with upper management, okay. But I think this would be malpractice. I really do. Not to say that, Green Bay wouldn't, ultimately, like if that job opened up, there wouldn't be, 10 guys there, probably end up going to get Dallas's old coach,
Mike McCarthy.
Yeah, Mike McCarthy,
who also has Green Bay ties.
Exactly, who also has Green Bay ties. So, and maybe they choose to do that. I don't know, but I don't know why you would even think about going in another direction with this coach, because you have a system in. This system has allowed your quarterback to develop into one of the best young quarterbacks in the National Football League. And I say young because he's 30 now, if that. Somewhere around there, and he's still young. If he stays healthy, he has another 10 more years that he can play. So yeah, he is young. He's taking your young
Jordan Love is 27.
Yeah. He's 27 years old. He's taking your young quarterback and he's developed him into one of the best quarterbacks in the National Football League. And now all of a sudden, there's this cloud over his head saying he may be replaced. Come on, man. Like, sometimes you just got to say, you know what? Let's just squash these rumors. He's doing a great job. We're going to re-sign him eventually, and let's move away from that, because the more you hear about this, the more of a distraction it becomes for the Green Bay Packers. And listen, if they fire him, like I said, then he should be seriously in the mix to become the Titans' next head coach.
Because I would imagine it would be a dream for the Titans if LaFleur could be paired with Cam Ward, and LaFleur has a track record, right?
He's proven.
Right. He has a track record at this versus Brian Callahan, who did it. So you're hoping that with LaFleur, you would be getting what you thought you would be getting with Brian Callahan.
And he's not one of these, because I did say, and I know people are thinking, well, you said you didn't want one of these whiz. He's proven that he can get the job done. I don't want a whiz kid that think he can. He's proven he can
This
get the
is
job
his
done. Yes.
seventh season in Green
Exactly.
Bay.
So
Right.
he's proven that he can get the job done as a head coach and offensive coordinator.
I want to ask you about another name, another coaching name that has been floating out around there. And I know that as soon as I tell you the name, you're going to shoot it down because when we did this a few weeks ago, when we put together our Titans coaching dating profiles, what was your one red flag, your one non-negotiable?
Can't be a college coach.
Can't be a college coach. But yet I hear Marcus Freeman's name out there a lot. Not with the Titans. Not with the Titans.
No.
But Marcus Freeman's name is appearing to percolate now.
Okay. I'm going to say no for the Titans. That's what I'm going to say.
Do you
No
think he
for
could
the
be
Titans.
an
I don't
NFL
know.
head coach?
I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. It seems like he enjoys it at Notre Dame, and he sort of squashed some of the talk of him going to other schools, that are available or will be available at the college level. So they sort of squashed that. Maybe he used it to get more money. We've seen coaches do that as well. And there's nothing wrong with that, leveraging your success or, leveraging you as a head coach to try to get a bigger contract. So, but in this situation for the Titans, no. Some other team, yeah, it may work. I'm not saying it will not or it will, but I'm going to tell you one thing, man. You make that jump, the hook is going to be quicker in the NFL. You built up a lot of goodwill at Notre Dame, a lot of it. And they may love you when you get to the NFL. But if you don't prove it within that 2 years, matter of fact, if you don't prove it in 1 year, they are looking to get rid of your ass. And they've proven it across the league already. They've proven it. So don't say, oh, no, it won't happen to him. No, it will. If you can't prove it within the first year, you're on the hot seat the second year.
615-737-1025. We'll take your thoughts on available potential coaches for the Tennessee Titans. Matt LaFleur is currently unavailable, but there appears to be a lot of chatter about how he could end up being fired in Green Bay. 615-737-1025. We'll wrap up the show next. I do want to bust out the wide receiver translator because an old friend is stirring up some trouble. And we'll get Derek Mason's thought on that coming up next. 615-737-1025. We are broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. D Mace, Vingan, and Donick 1025. The Game. Derek Mason and Adam Vingan here with you. We will be on tomorrow at some point. We don't know the exact time yet because the Predators play at 1 o'clock in Sweden. Well, 1 p.m. Central. It will be 8 o'clock, if my math is right, in Sweden. But we will be on the air immediately following the Predators game against the Penguins, which starts at 1 p.m. Central. So depending on when that ends, we'll be with you, an abbreviated version of DVD for your drive home. Derek, I do want to go back to the beginning of the show for a moment because I did start the show. I had to get something off my chest. I said, don't be that neighbor who leaves your garbage can on the curb 3 days after trash pickup. And I did something about it today. And a lot of people weighed in on what bothers them. One texter said, what irks me is when people park in the pickup lanes and go in the store. Another texter said, people who spit gum on the ground. Those are some bad ones.
Okay.
Those are some bad ones. I agree.
Okay, I will admit this, people.
You spit the gum on the ground.
Now I will stop. I don't spit it on the ground. I try to throw it like somewhere that I don't know when I do chew it.
Can I tell you a
on
funny
the
story
ground.
about spitting out bubblegum?
Go ahead.
Years and years and years and years ago, when I was younger, I was on a family trip. I want to say we were in Colorado somewhere. And I was chewing gum and I spit it out in a lake. And a goose comes swimming up and attempts to swallow the gum. And it appeared that the goose was choking. And I was like, uh-oh. And I ran away. And I don't know what happened to that goose.
The goose didn't choke. He didn't choke. He coughed it up.
I may have murdered a goose like 25 years ago. Who's
a goose, a turkey? What is this?
Well, so you and Willie, y'all better watch y'all back.
Don't put the turkey on me. Willie was driving the car. I was just in the passenger
You were
seat.
there.
Willie
You were there.
exactly.
I was
helpless.
I was an accessory to murder. Is
You
what
and
you're
Willie.
saying?
Exactly. You and Willie need to watch y'all back. That's all I gotta say.
One time, my dad on a fishing trip reared back to cast off and caught a bird in the wing. So
man,
it must run in the family.
Yeah, there you
who
go.
knows? Who knows? But before we go, I wanted to dust off the wide receiver translator for a moment. David Janes, if you will.
Wide receiver translator.
Thank you. I wanted to ask you about what the hell's going on with A.J. Brown, because every day it seems like there is another headline with A.J. Brown commenting about the Eagles offense, the fact that he has been apparently phased out of the Eagles offense. ESPN says he has 31 catches for 408 yards and 3 touchdowns in 8 games this season. He's on pace to finish with 867 receiving yards, which would be a career low.
Didn't he miss a game or two this season?
He may have. But there was this whole thing about some Twitch stream or something, and he was commenting on his situation. I don't know. What do you make of what's going on with A.J. Brown?
It's hard to say. And this is the sort of the crazy, not crazy part, but kind of confusing thing about it is that he says these things like periodically. It's just like you don't know when he's gonna say them. There's no rhyme or reason.
It's cryptic.
Yeah, they can win, they can lose. They're cryptic. I'm used to the cryptic stuff because he did it while he was here. But I don't understand this one, man. From the standpoint of, okay, you missed some games, I believe, this season. Your team is winning, but I know that competitive nature in him wants to be more involved. But when you're winning, it's like, man, how much can you say? And then the other guy on the other side is putting in work, meaning Devontae Smith, and Devontae's not saying anything. He's just going about his business. This is making up to be, or sort of becoming where this may be the last season with him in Philly. And the only reason that they've kept him this long, because they have the locker room that can handle that. Whenever he has these, and listen, it's not like he's just cancer in the locker room or anything, but when you have these cryptic things or you have these things coming out, win or lose, they have the locker room that can kind of squash it or dull the fire in a sense. If they didn't have the locker room or the leadership that they needed, I think he would be gone. I think they would have tried to trade him away. They've already won the Super Bowl. I think they would have tried to get as much as they possibly could for AJ, and they would have got a haul, or they still can get a haul if they choose to trade him. But because they have that locker room, they're going to continue to, and his talent outweighs this little stuff that he's doing, even though it's irritating, it's cryptic. It's not huge, but if they didn't have the locker room that they have, it would be bigger than what it is now. I think they're going to ride the season out. They're going to try to get him involved. But then next season or during the off season, they may be looking to move him because I think he has 2 or 3 more years left on his deal.
Not sure.
He's still young, relative. So they can still get a lot for him. But I don't think that they're going to sort of, I'm not saying put up with this, but they're not going to appreciate it probably once the season ends. I think they're going to be looking for a trade partner. And if they can find one, they're going to, trade him to another team and figure Devontae can take over and they go out and get another free agent or draft another receiver. But I think his time in Philly, it's been a great time. He's was a part of a huge part of them winning the Super Bowl, along with Saquon and Jalen and Devontae. That offense, period. The defense played well too. But I think they've gotten their championship. They have their coach, their quarterback. They have another young stud in Devontae who they've locked up for the next 3 or 4 years. And he may be expendable from the standpoint of, let's try to get as much as we possibly can for him in the offseason. We've already won a championship, and let's go that direction.
We do have a game tonight, Thursday Night Football. Jets at Patriots. New England going for its 8th consecutive win. We'll see what happens against the Jets. Of course, the Jets have been sold off for parts. Sauce Gardner and Quinnen Williams out the door, and I don't even know who's starting at quarterback for the Jets. Is it Justin Fields?
I think it's Justin Fields.
I don't even know. Garrett Wilson will not be playing in this game.
Man,
so I don't think it matters. I don't think it matters who's starting at quarterback for the New York Jets. Yes.
Quickly, back on AJ quickly.
Of course.
He's this sort of generation's version of Terrell Owens.
Okay.
Good teammate, great player.
Has a shelf life.
But has a shelf life.
So do
absolutely.
Do you mean that we're going to see him doing like setups?
Yes. Is AJ Brown going to do crunches in his driveway?
Hey, listen, you made a guy's built like a tank. You may see it. I don't know. But it's not, and I'm not saying that as a bad thing. I would have loved to play with Terrell Owens. Hell of a player. And I'm sure he was a hell of a person. I've met him. He's a hell of a person. But like you said, shelf life.
Right.
There's a shelf life to it. Coaches have a shelf life. You talked about hockey, Laviolette, all these other guys. They have shelf lives.
Yes.
I think AJ is one of those guys like Terrell Owens, that great player. I mean, really a great dude, a good dude, but he has a shelf life with a team.
Yeah. And look, if AJ Brown is done in Philadelphia,
he can come back here. They can sign him back here.
We'll accept him.
Now that would be something.
Oh man, they can sign. But I guarantee you that the first person that will come calling, if they even thought about anything with AJ, would be Vrabel.
Yeah.
Yeah, Vrabel would make that call in a heartbeat.
Can you imagine Stephon Diggs and AJ Brown on the same team?
Nah,
talking about wide receivers with a shelf life.
Stephon Stephon be gone, man. They get AJ, Stephon's gone.
That's
And I think
interesting.
Stephon still can play some really good football.
Yeah.
But I don't think the locker room is big enough for those two guys.
So, what's the term?
Or the football. They don't have enough footballs for those
Yeah.
two guys. Let's say that.
What's the term? The Vrabel special?
Mhm.
Do we see the Bizarro Vrabel special tonight? 8-2 at home against the 2-7 Jets.
Yep. Yes.
Could we see an upset? You think so?
Yes, absolutely. This is prime for Vrabel. Whoops.
The Patriots are 12.5-point
Yep,
favorites.
absolutely.
That would be something. Drake May has played outstanding this season, certainly in the conversation for MVP. So
Is it in New York too? Are they playing in New York?
it's in New England.
Oh, it's in New England.
It's in New
Okay.
England. So it's Jets at Patriots tonight at 7:15 on Prime Video. So you'll need yet another streaming service to watch that. Anything else quickly, Derek, that you want to get off your chest before we leave?
That's really about it. We talked about the trash. I talked about people parking in front of my garage, in front of my mailbox.
Yes.
I guess that's really about it. I mean, people is getting close to Christmas and the holidays.
Yes. Which means are you firing up the Hallmark movies yet?
Oh yeah. Okay. Let's talk about that quickly. We got a couple minutes.
We got a minute.
Don't you know? I watched 3 Hallmark movies
What?
yesterday.
What? 3?
I wasn't paying attention to all of them, but because I was kind of in and out, moving around the house and doing stuff. But it was a trifecta. 3 and I loved every minute of it.
And they were
man.
all the same movie with
Basically, yeah.
with different actors.
Exactly.
Basically.
Basically, it
Remember the
was.
one last year about the Kansas City Chiefs?
Absolutely, and I watched that too.
Oh man.
I love this is one of the best times of the year.
Yes. Who doesn't
Because
love the holiday
Hallmark
season?
movies come on, and it just gets you in the season, man. I'm about to put up a Christmas tree today. A small one, not the one I usually put up, but I'm gonna put up a small one. It sits in where nobody can see it but me, because I watched those movies yesterday, and I just felt kind of in the mood. I'm like, man, let me go pick up a Christmas tree, a smaller one, man. I want to do it.
We'll have to talk about this, but we don't have time for that. We will be on at some point tomorrow afternoon. If I had to guess,
Yes.
we'll be on at roughly 4:30, right after the Predators take on the Penguins, a 1 p.m. Central puck drop. And of course, following post-game, we will be on to help you on your drive home. Chad Withrow will join us during the 5 o'clock hour. So we'll talk to you at some point tomorrow afternoon, probably around 4:30.
Be love on your people. Have a safe, blessed, and wonderful day. I love you. The team loves you, definitely. And don't you hear that music? You hear it. Don't you forget about us. Even though we don't know what time we're going to be on tomorrow, we're going to be on. That's
We're gonna be
all
back.
Exactly. That's all you need to know. We will be back on these airwaves tomorrow, starting with the Predators at 1 p.m. And then after that, Adam, myself, David James, and Willie and Spear, we will be back on. So peace. See you later.